Look at this shit. This shit poverty for real. This ain't no fake. Did you ever in your life think you could be this big?
Kodak Black rose from the streets, turning real-life struggle into a rap empire. But fame came at a cost. From gun charges and sexual assault allegations to public meltdowns and battles with addiction, everything he built started to crumble around him.
Okay, take a seat next to him, take a seat next to him.
So, how does someone climb that high and still lose his way like this? Let me break it down. Arrests, lawsuits, and serious legal issues tied to his name. Yo, fam, let's talk about this brother Kodak before it all unraveled. By 2014, Kodak Black had already gone double platinum with No Flock. A year later, SKRT was dominating playlists across the country. Drake had delivered the cosign that every Florida rapper was chasing, and Atlantic Records had come to the table with a legitimate deal for a kid from the public housing projects of Pompano Beach. Raised by a single mother with nothing handed to him, that was not just a rise. That was a generational shift in motion. The talent was undeniable. The support was in place. The ceiling seemed limitless. Then, before the Atlantic deal had even settled, October 2015 arrived, and Kodak was already facing legal trouble. At just 18 years old, he faced charges for robbery, battery, kidnapping, false imprisonment, driving with a suspended license, and marijuana possession, all from one incident where he allegedly forced people into his car over a suspected break-in. The same week, he was collecting cosigns from rap royalty. He was also stacking legal cases that read like a crime novel. December 2015 brought another marijuana possession charge in St. Lucie County. The buzzing mainstream attention that Drake's endorsement had created was now sharing space with police reports. Promoters got nervous fast. The Next Big Thing label was in direct competition with the troubled rapper label. And once that competition starts, it rarely resolves neatly in the artist's favor. What made the image problem worse was not just the frequency of the arrests, it was the timing. Kodak had a narrow window that most rappers from his background only get once. The early 2016 period should have been about capitalizing on that window. Touring, building catalog, locking in strategic collaborations. Instead, he was navigating a house arrest sentence attached to 5 years of probation, mandatory community service, and anger management requirements. Every clause in that probation agreement was a chain on a career that needed to move freely. Labels started asking questions about liability. Promoters started building cancellation clauses into booking agreements. The machinery of the industry does not wait for anyone to sort their personal life out. Then came February 2016, the accusation that would follow Kodak for 5 years and cost him more than any other single moment in his career. A woman accused him of first-degree criminal sexual conduct after a performance in South Carolina. The case was indicted in 2017, carrying a potential 30-year sentence. That allegation damaged his brand in every room where mainstream money was being discussed. Brand deals disappeared. Crossover opportunities closed off. The rising star narrative was now permanently sharing headlines with criminal allegation, and those two things do not coexist cleanly in any commercial conversation. He eventually resolved the case in 2021 by pleading to a lesser charge of first-degree assault and battery, receiving 18 months of probation with no additional jail time. But 5 years of an open sexual assault case is not something a public reputation absorbs quietly or without permanent scarring. Between 2017 and 2018, the probation violations kept stacking like unpaid parking tickets. In May 2017, he was sentenced to 364 days in jail for violating his house arrest terms, serving roughly 97 of those days before coming back out. A January 2018 home raid produced a stolen firearm, ammunition, and marijuana, while an Instagram live session had already documented a child visible near the contraband, which added a child neglect charge to pile. Another 364-day sentence followed with approximately 7 months served before an August 2018 release. His album Dying to Live still debuted at #1 on the Billboard chart that year. The talent was actively trying to save the career, while everything surrounding it worked to derail it. This is where it all became messy. The interviews from this period painted a picture of someone who had become increasingly unpredictable and unfiltered whenever a camera was pointed at him. Behavior that would define his public presence for years to come. That kind of casually unguarded admission in the middle of a recorded interview is exactly the pattern that kept media cycles running on his name and made label executives deeply uncomfortable. Every candid moment became a potential liability. Another clip for the Is He Okay compilation. Then 2019 came, and the damage went federal. In May, federal agents arrested him at Rolling Loud Miami on charges of making false statements on firearm purchase forms. He had lied about his criminal history, when buying guns in 2019. He pleaded guilty in November. The sentence, 46 months in federal prison, served at a high-security facility in Big Sandy, Kentucky. While incarcerated, he filed a lawsuit against facility staff alleging mistreatment during his time there, a lawsuit he later dropped. Hip-hop's streaming era was accelerating outside those walls, and Kodak was missing every single moment of it. His peers were building catalogs, signing deals, and claiming space in the culture that Kodak had been positioned to occupy. President Donald Trump commuted his sentence in January 2021, citing charitable work after roughly 10 to 12 months actually served. The postpartum comeback run. Super Gremlin cracking number 3 on the Hot 100. Back for everything debuting at number 2 on the Billboard chart showed the entire industry what he was capable of with a clear runway. But freedom for Kodak has always come with short expiration date. Now, let's talk about the aggressive streak, because this story is not just probation paperwork and drug possession charges. Prosecutors in multiple Florida cases labeled Kodak a repeat offender as far back as 2019. His early arrest record included robbery and aggravated assault. In 2016, during a police chase, he discarded a loaded Glock while fleeing officers. The 2018 home raid turned up a stolen firearm. At least one of the guns he purchased through the fraudulent forms in 2019 was later linked to an attempted attack on a rival rapper. Though Kodak was never directly charged for that specific incident, the aggressive energy was not limited to gun-related situations. It showed up in person in front of cameras during completely ordinary interactions. Do you think your jewelry sold you diamond or poison? No. Hey, is it cool if I test one of them? That exchange began as a YouTuber asking to test his jewelry, essentially a setup to confirm the authenticity of his chain. A reasonable person says yes and creates free content. Not Kodak. It's like testing your toughness. Oh, testing my drip. Yeah, that's like testing my reputation. A diamond tester becomes a personal challenge to his identity. That escalation from 0 to defensive in under 10 seconds is the same pattern that shows up across every chapter of his story. And it is exactly the kind of behavior that has made industry gatekeepers hesitant to build long-term commercial infrastructure around him. A man who reads a jewelry test as an attack on his identity operates at a permanent defensive level that affects every relationship around him. The most documented aggressive incident in his recent history was not one he caused directly, but one his lifestyle placed him squarely in the center of. February 12, 2022, Super Bowl 56 weekend. The Nice Guy restaurant in West Hollywood. A private after-party hosted by Justin Bieber. A confrontation erupted as people exited. An incident occurred, and Kodak was struck in the leg. Non-life-threatening, treated and released quickly. But 2 other men, Mark Schaefer and Adam Rahman, were also affected. Their legal team, led by Gloria Allred, filed a civil lawsuit arguing Kodak's conduct had escalated the situation into conflict. The initial demand was $62 million. A judge reduced the target to approximately $10.6 million, widely reported in headlines as a $10 million lawsuit. Kodak's attorney, Bradford Cohen, went on record calling it one of the most absurd legal actions he had encountered and threatened a full countersuit. That civil case hung over everything else Kodak was managing for 4 full years. Then in March 2026, the plaintiffs dropped the entire suit. No settlement paid, no refiling rights granted. A clean legal win for his team, but 4 years of civil liability headlines had already shaped public perception. The Jackboy chapter of the story carries a weight that no court victory can erase. Jackboy, real name Pierre Dance, was once one of Kodak's most trusted associates. They came up together in Pompano Beach, with Jackboy connecting to Atlantic Records through Kodak's early influence, collaborating on music and running in the same tight circle. The falling out around 2020 to 2021 happened publicly and turned bitter quickly. Money disputes, contract accusations, social media shots exchanged in both directions. Kodak posted publicly about profiting from work connected to Jackboy, calling him ungrateful. Jackboy responded with accusations of snitching and business betrayal. The kind of beef that in the streets does not stay on social media indefinitely. Even those on the periphery understood when it was time to stop claiming connections out loud. By January 2023, this dispute was no longer being settled in comment sections. Through the mid-2010s, it appeared as persona, as style, as part of the image he was crafting around himself. The industry was not concerned. Most people in his circle were not treating it as a medical issue. But once he came out of federal prison in 2021, the substance use stopped being background texture and lyrics and became verified evidence in courtrooms. From there, it escalated to viral footage millions of fans were watching live, becoming progressively harder to excuse or justify. The first major documented incident came in September 2021, while Kodak was on supervised release. Released from his federal firearms conviction, he failed a drug test. Marijuana and MDMA returned positive, violating the terms of his release. A judge ordered 90 days of inpatient rehabilitation. He completed the full program by December 2021. His attorney confirmed the court was satisfied. Kodak described himself as clean and sober and talked about refocusing entirely on music. The comeback that followed, Super Gremlin, hitting the top 3 on the Hot 100, appeared like proof the program had worked and discipline had taken hold. It had not. His post-comeback stability started unraveling almost immediately. After being shot in the leg at the Super Bowl afterparty in February 2022, Kodak received a legitimate oxycodone prescription for pain linked to his injuries. That legitimate prescription became a serious problem very fast. By July 2022, police pulled him over and found 31 oxycodone pills and a significant amount of cash in his car. Trafficking and possession charges followed immediately. He maintained the prescription was valid. The court placed him on house arrest with mandatory drug testing as a pretrial condition. Then in February 2023, he missed a required test entirely, and when he finally submitted to one, the result came back positive for fentanyl, not just prescription opioid. Fentanyl, a synthetic drug responsible for the majority of overdose deaths in the United States. A Broward County judge issued an arrest warrant and ordered a 30-day inpatient rehab stint, allowing him to first perform at Rolling Loud, California. Think about that detail for a moment. A man with fentanyl in his system getting a hall pass to perform a major festival before checking into treatment. The industry's relationship with this type of behavior is its own separate conversation. By December 2023, he was arrested again, found asleep in a car facing cocaine possession and evidence tampering charges. He denied the cocaine on Instagram Live, said it was lean, blamed the whole situation on his post-shooting prescription opioid use. But he also said something in that Live that cut right through the defensiveness, that he had voluntarily spent $350,000 on rehab, completely separate from anything a court ordered him to do because he wanted to be better for his children. That was not calculated. That was a man who understood the scope of the damage and had tried to address it on his own terms before any judge could make the decision for him. In 2024, the public finally got the most honest accounting he'd ever offered about exactly how severe the addiction had actually become. He admitted that at the height of his Percocet dependency, he was consuming up to 100 pills a day, averaging around 40. He told fans directly that surviving that stretch was luck. The counterfeit Percocet market was saturated with fentanyl-laced pills. At the volume he was moving through, one wrong batch would have been the last batch. He said he did not want anyone looking at his past as a lifestyle blueprint. For stretches of 2024, he told interviewers and live audiences he was sober for the most part, could go several days without substances, and was no longer afraid of what being clean actually felt like. For a man who had just confessed to consuming 40 pills a day at his worst, that was real movement. That reaction pulled from the kidnap stream captured in about 8 seconds what fans have been feeling every single time a new clip surfaced. Because in November 2024, whatever genuine progress had been made started unwinding on camera again in the most public way possible.